Everyone, my name is Sanjay, and today we're going to be going over Ode to Joy, which is a piece by Beethoven. It's a famous composer in the 1700s, and it's a really long piece for beginners, and it's going to be four lines of four measures each. And today we're going to be going over the analysis of the note sheet, and then next week we're going to be going over how to apply it onto the piano, which is going to be fun, and I think you're going to recognize the melody there. You might not recognize the name, but you're definitely going to recognize the melody. So yeah, let's get right into it. So now let's get into the Ode to Joy analysis of the notes and the note sheet and the music composition. So first off, let's take a look at we always take a look at our clefs. Take a look at our time signature, and we'll take a look at our key signature. So we have nothing in the key signature, which means that there is no flats, sharps, naturals. So no flats, sharps, naturals, which means there's just regular notes that we're going to be playing throughout this whole entire piece. So, now let's look at our clefs. We have treble clef and bass clef here playing at the same time in a lot of parts in this piece. So that means left hand and right hand are going to be playing in this music piece, which is Ode to Joy by Beethoven, which is a very famous piece. And I think you might not recognize the name of this song, but once we play it, you might recognize the melody and how the music goes and plays. So now let's look at our time signature, which says that it's 4/4, which means that there's 4 beats per measure, which is we usually run this time signature. It's very common in beginner pieces like Ode to Joy. So now let's start identifying what these notes are, and then we'll get into identifying the rests, how the dotted notes, the half notes, whole notes, all of that. And then we have some intervals and we have chords. We've learned intervals in the past. It's in, if you don't know what they are, I have a previous video on them in my YouTube channel, link in the description, and there's going to be chords, which we just learned about, so it's another previous video that's also going to be in the description. So let's get into identifying these different notes. So first of all, let's just start off by counting the measures first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 measures. So 16 measures in this piece, and we're just going to take it step by step. We're going to do 4 measures of right hand and left hand analysis, 4 measures of right hand and left hand, 4 measures of right hand and left hand. And this last 4 measures is just a repeat of the first 4 measures, of the second 4 measures. Which we won't really need to go in depth of because we already analyzed that. So let's start. For this first right hand, we have E, E, because it's on the E line. So E, E, and then we have an F because it's on the F space right here. Then we have a G because it's on the G line, and then we have another G. So we're gonna play that 2 times, and then the next we're gonna have an F, because it's in the F space right here. Then now we're going to have another E. We're going to go down. We're descending. It's kind of like our scale. That's why we learned this scale. So we can ascend. There's many ascending and descending patterns in this piece, which is why I wanted to learn this. I wanted you guys to learn the C major scale because it had a lot of those notes. So after next note, in our next measure, we have D, because it's under the E line. And then we go down the middle C right here, 2 middle Cs. And then we go up to a D, and then we go up to an E, and then we go up to another E. We don't go up to another, we just stay on the same line, because it's E, E. And then we go down to D, and then another D, because it's right under the E line. And I know I'm going a little bit fast. It's because we have to cover so many measures here today, because it's a pretty long piece, and we need to get through it. And also, be sure to analyze this on your own, because there's going to be a picture link in the description that you can read and take your time with it. So, and yeah, let's get into the left hand now, identifying the notes. Now, here in the left hand, we have a chord, 3 chords, 2 rests, and 1 whole note at the end here. So, let's start off with this chord. This is going to be a C major. So, we know how to read C major chords. It's from bottom to top. So this first note down here, this bottom note, is going to be a C because it's on the C space. Next note is going to be an E, all caps E. This is going to be E because it's in the E space, and then G up top because it's going to be in the G space. So C, E, G, that's our C major. The next chord is also C, E, G. It's in the same positions, the same notes, same fingerings. And this thing called over here, it's a tie. It's called a tie. If you don't remember what ties are, we actually learned about ties and slurs. And you can go back to my previous video where we explained what ties are. So, these two chords are tied, which means you're going to hold it out. Hold this chord out throughout these 2 measures. You're going to hold the C major chord from measure 1 all the way to the start of the measure 2 when we played this G at the same time in right hand. The next chord is also going to be C, E, G. There's a lot of C major chords in this music composition, which is why I picked it out, because we're going to be dealing with C major. Then we have a rest here, which means it's a quarter rest, which means we rest for 1 beat. And this chord at the start of the piece is 4 beats because it's a whole note. And the chord that it's tied to is going for 3 beats because it's a dotted half note, which means it's 3 beats. Same thing with the chord after, 3 beats, and then the last measure has a whole note, which is G, and it's going to be held because it's in the G space, and it's going to be held for 4 beats because it's a whole note. Now in our right hand, we have all quarter notes, except for only when it comes to this last measure right here, there's a dotted quarter note, which means that it's going to go for 1.5 beats here. And then we have and then these 2 Ds. This first D goes for an 8th note, which is half a beat, and then we have a half note to end off this first 4 measures, which is going for 2 beats. And we learned 8th notes and all the note beats in the past. It's another previous video. And now let's get on to the next 4 measures, because we analyzed the first 4 measures. Same thing. Nothing in the key signature, same treble clef, bass clef, both hands playing, and 4/4. To know that it's still 4/4, if there's no time signature here, and there's a time signature at the very first measure, means that it's still that time signature in the very first measure. If it's 4/4 in the first measure, and then it says 3/4 here, that means it's going to be 3/4 for this measure. But no, we don't have any time signature here, which means it's still 4/4. So let's analyze again. It's very similar, but the last couple of notes are different. So we have an E in right hand, another E because they're on the E line, and then we have an F in the F space. Then we have a G on the G line, and then another G in the second measure, and then we're gonna go down to an F in the F space, and then down to an E, and then down to a D under the E line, and then a middle C, another middle C, and then go up to a D, and go up to an E because it's on an E line, and then go back down to a D, and then play 2 C's. So, now let's analyze the left hand. Another C major chord, C, E, G, same fingerings, all that, and it's going to be tied to another C major chord. And then there's a rest, and then there's another C major chord in this third measure, there's another rest, and then we have a G that's a half note, which means it's going to be held out for 2 beats, and then we have an interval, which is another previous video that we learned about, which means intervals are comprised of 2 notes. There's one singular note, then there's an interval, which is 2 notes played at the same time, and then there's the chord. So this is like a step down from a chord, this interval. So it's going to be 2 notes played at the same time, and these 2 notes are going to be C and E. We also read intervals from bottom to top. And this interval is going to be held out for 2 beats because it's a half note. This chord at the beginning, another 4 beats, it's going to be held by 4 because it's a whole note. And then these 2 chords here are going to be held for 3 beats because it's a dotted half note. And then we're going to rest after those chords. So this right hand here, we have all quarter notes. And then except for this D and then the last 2 C's. This D over here is going to be held for 1.5 beats because it's a dotted quarter note, and then we have an eighth note on this first C, just half a beat, and then we have 2 beats held for this last C here, tended off, like the D in the first 4 measures. Now let's get to the next 4 measures, which let's start analyzing. Same thing, no key signature, no change time signature, still right hand and left hand playing. And this time we don't have any chords in the left hand here. It's going to be a little bit simpler to play. So let's analyze the right hand, and it's going to be a little bit different this time. So it's going to be, start off with D, D, because it's under the E line, and then we go up to an E, then we go down to a middle C, then we go up to a D, and then we go up to E, which is an eighth note, which means it's going to be played for half a beat, but this eighth note is connected to another eighth note, which is F. So this E is connected to an F, and both of them are eighth notes, which means that the melody is going to go like dot dot. It's going to be pretty fast. It's faster than a quarter note because it's just half a beat. So then we go down to an E after the F, then go down to a C, then go to a D, and then we do another eighth note, 2 connected eighth notes, another E, then another F that's connected. Both of them are eighth notes, and it's going to be dot dot again. That's the melody. And then we're going to go down to another E on the E line, and then we're going to go down to a D, then we're going to go down to a C, then we're going to go up to a D, and then rest 2 times, quarter rest. So all these notes are quarter notes, except for these 2 eighth notes, which go like dot dot. And this melody is left off at the right hand, but the left hand here actually ends these 4 measures off with a low G here. So the left hand, there's all G's. All of these notes are G's because it's on the G space. We have 1 quarter rest, another quarter rest, and another quarter rest. We have 3 quarter rests. So we play this G for 3 beats because it's a dotted half note, and then we rest. Play this G for 3 beats, rest. Play this G for 3 beats, rest for a beat, and then we have a half note. So we play the right hand this time while we're resting in the left hand, and then once we're done with this D, our right hand rests, as we can see up here, and then we play this G, which is for 2 beats because it's just a half note. Obviously, I'll have all this stuff labeled for you in the picture, so you guys can check this out later. So now, let's do this last measure here, which is basically the second form, these 4 measures right here. So we can go pretty faster because we know. Again, you guys can take it slow on your own time with the picture in the description. And then we have, for the right hand here, we have E, another E, then go up to an F because it's on the F space, then we do a G, then we go do another G, and then go down to an F, go down to an E, go down to a D, then, because we're just reading what these notes are on the space and the lines. We've learned that from day 1. And now we're going to go to a C, a middle C, another middle C, then go up to a D here, go up to an E, then go to a D, go down to a D, and then play those 2 C's again like you saw. So all of these are quarter notes except for this last measure, which has the D. The first D was held for 1.5 beats because it's a dotted quarter note. And there's an eighth note, which is half a beat on this first C, and then there's a half note, which is this last C here. Now we're going to be doing left hand, same as these 4 measures. It's the same thing. This is how we're ending the song. This is our ending measures. And then now we're going to have a C major chord played, held out for 4 beats because it's a whole note. And then it's tied, which means we hold it out to this chord, which is another C major chord, and it's going to be held for 3 beats because it's a dotted half note. And then we rest here after we play that dotted, after we stop holding that, then you play another dotted half note, C major, C, E, G, and then we rest, and then we play the last 2 notes in left hand, which is a G, which is going to be played held out for 2 beats because it's a half note, and then we have the interval again, which is C, E, played at the same time for 2 beats because it's a half note interval. So that's going to be it for the note sheet analysis of Ode to Joy by Beethoven, and we're going to be applying this this piece onto the piano next week. and we're gonna be you guys should study these notes to practice. And obviously I went pretty fast paced today because we had a lot to cover. We had 4 lines of 4 measures each, which is really gonna be a long video, which is why I had to go fast. So if you guys should just take it slowly on your own time. There's gonna be a picture of this in the description of the video. So next week we're going to be applying this onto the piano, and that'll be it. Yep. See you next week. Bye.